Well, hello. In this video today, I want to go back to the basics. So if you've ever doubted that you can't talk to your animals, or you're not sure what they're asking of you when they look at you with those big, wide, sad eyes, then I want to give you three of my top tips. In fact, three really basic tips to inspire you to talk to your animals. Because a lot of people say, oh, you have to be psychic, or it's only for the gifted ones. I want to tell you right now that that is so not true. You have been receiving messages non-verbally ever since you were a baby. In fact, in utero, you were receiving messages through your mother, through her emotions and her feelings, and you were very connected with the energy of her, how she was feeling and what was going on in the outside world. So learning how to listen to your animals is as simple as forming a thought in your mind and sharing it, and also receiving is the same way. So you can do this. So I think the first important thing to know is commit. Tell yourself that you can listen to the animals and you can send them messages as well. Remember, these are ancient practices that you knew how to do long ago in another lifetime. And a lot of the Native Americans and indigenous people, like the Aborigines and the Bushmen, have kept that wisdom going. We've just forgotten because we've got so busy in our heads with the thinking and the problem solving that we've forgotten how to listen from our hearts. So you don't need any skills to communicate, only a real love for animals and a belief that it's possible to connect. And remember that this is not a test or a competition, so don't rush. Both my dogs are sitting there going, we've got all the time in the world. So be patient with yourself. The 3 Ps that are the foundation of the trust process, which is what I recommend anyone who wants to work with animals or talk to animals or do behavioral work with animals, learn the trust process, because you need to be present. So the 3 Ps are patience, persistence, and presence. So remember, this is not a competition. Don't compare your progress to anybody else, and use, I don't even want to call them mistakes. Sometimes you're going to get the information and interpret it in a way that isn't perhaps accurate. So use that as an opportunity to learn more and to see where and how you can improve. The animals don't care if you make mistakes. They don't care if you're having a bad hair day, or if you're not wearing clothes or the color that they like. They're just so happy and excited that you are making an effort to really listen. And when we talk about listening in animal communication, it's a feeling listening. It's not listening with your ears, it's the subtle senses. So we don't always know all the answers about our animals. So take in new information with a new mind, and don't worry. It's harder to communicate and hear what they're saying, and also to send them information if you're stuck in your head and you're worrying about how you're going to do it and how you're going to send the information or receive it. And just know that when we are communicating with an animal, perhaps for the first time, we have to establish trust. So if I'm communicating with an animal that's sick halfway across the world, that's never heard from me before, I need to establish a place of trust with them and go slow. So I always say, go at the pace of your animal's body, or the animal that you're talking to, and both mine are coming walking in here. So, and also send them a picture. If you're clear visual, send them a picture of something that they can recognize when you're asking, what is your favorite toy? Because if you're sending them a flower, or you're sending them an image that they don't recognize, which can be quite a challenge when you're tracking lost animals, which is much more advanced work, is if they've never been out of their yard, they're not going to know what a street sign is. So if you're asking them to show you a street sign and they don't know what that is, they don't have any reference point. So saying in the beginning, when you're just starting to practice, so remember how to talk and receive information from animals, to keep it simple. Picture one thing in your mind. Don't have a flurry of things. Just find an image and hold your intention on that one thing, and then send it to them. And then you can just keep imagining that you're sending it through time and space, even if it only takes a split second to send a message to the opposite side of the world, which it is, because energy travels really, really fast. Just send a message. It's just like opening up your computer and going to your inbox and clicking on an email. And that's how I love to do it. It's just like, imagine that you're bringing up the information or the picture or the thought or the word, and then just send it. Because your animal is always thinking about what are you doing. And if you're sending them a flower and they don't know what a flower looks like, they're going to get confused. So think of something that they love. If it's your cat or your dog that you're speaking to in the beginning, send them something, a picture of something that they love. If it's their favorite chew toy, or the cat's hat thing with the feathers on it. And you'll be amazed that when you start to do that and you send that image to your animal, imagine when you've sent it that it lands in their heart space. And then pick a place, where you want them to receive the message. You don't need to even get that specific, but I just kind of imagine that I'm sending it to their heart or to their brain. And if it's a food treat, I just imagine that they're opening their mouth to receive it. And you'll see the image that you form will just flash in your mind, and your animal will see it instantly. It's just an instant message. And I've had some really funny stories of my students practicing this in class, and the animal has gone straight over to where their owner, their human, is, and picked up that favorite toy and dropped it right in front of them. So don't be surprised at how quickly they get it, because they're really teaching us that we are telepathic. We can send and receive information very, very fast. So just remember that all that energy forms is a very loud message that your animal can see and sense. So practice sending that message just as you imagine that ball of energy going straight to their heart, or if it's food, straight to their mouth. And practice sending it with love. What does love feel like to you? What does it look like to you? Does it have a color? Is it hot? Is it cool? You can just bring in all your multisensory capacities and bundle it up and then send it out. And remember, emotions are very powerful forms of energy. So a little goes a long way. Sometimes when we're sending very intense energy that feels quite smothering, it doesn't feel good. So little by little, to begin with, just think of it like you're opening a tap and you're starting to drip the information. And always ask the animal's permission if you can have a conversation with them, and be aware that if they're busy or they're sleeping, that they might say not now, or you might get nothing back. So don't think that you aren't receiving, or they're not receiving, or you're not sending it. They just might be busy. So find a time when they actually are awake and are engaged and present with you. And again, learning how to create this calm, peaceful presence through heart-to-heart connection that we use in the trust process is a beautiful way, because when they start to realize that you're the one sending this beautiful, calm, peaceful energy, it feels so good, and they want more, so they'll stay with you in it. And I always say, end on a good note. So really actively appreciate them. And if you're working with trauma, for example, or they tell you something that is very vulnerable, just as you would a person, just say to them, wow, you know, thank you so much. I so appreciate you sharing that with me. And end on, you must be so proud of that. Or, you know, send them praise, because who doesn't like a little bit praise? So remember to thank them when you're finished talking to them, and always send them a loving thought as you close the session, or give them some act of appreciation that you really, really care so deeply that they're spending the time teaching you how to listen from your heart, from a felt sense again. And just know, you know, that our universe, we're all energy in bodies. And we're often are sending information telepathically all the time. And maybe up until now, you've just put it off as a fluke or synchronistic. But how many times have you been thinking about someone that you really love, that you haven't spoken to for a long time, and the next minute the phone rings and it's them, or they send you a text message saying that they love you and when can they talk? So even in our dreams, we're effortlessly communicating with others in the astral planes, just using our internal voice. And your internal voice is what you hear in your mind when you're having a thought. And during our dreams, we are able to sense things and know things and feel things without having to use our external voice. So in our dream state, our body and our mind and our soul are very relaxed and calm. And a lot of external interruptions are muted. And we experience everything from this beautiful place of connection and joy and almost bliss. So even utilizing our 5 sensory perceptions of taste and smell and sight and sensing and sound without giving it a second thought, we're doing it all the time. You're already using telepathy. You maybe just don't realize it. So as I said, the best place, so here we go, recap on what I've kind of gushed out so quickly at you, is when you are wanting to speak to an animal, either the one that's sitting in the room with you or an animal that's far away. Maybe you're on a business trip and you're missing your dog or your cat or your horse, and you want to keep in touch with them. You can tell them just by connecting with your heart. So I teach this in the trust process of really zoning in on keeping your body really, really still, and then being able to have noise in the background. So focusing on the sound in the background. So right now there is an airplane flying by, but it doesn't affect my line of open communication. The noise can just be there. And the sensory, the touch of your clothes on your body, or where your hair touches your body, or where your body is touching a chair. When you bring all of that in and you just take some nice relaxed breath right into your belly and out through your nose, and focusing on pushing your belly to the back of your spine. Just doing that slows everything down and puts you into a very calm, relaxed, and peaceful state of mind. Then, of course, you can, if you've got a photograph of the animal, you can call in the animal. I like to use their name and their address when I'm calling them in from a distance, but just gazing on the photograph or using soft eyes and looking at a point just above your dog's head or your cat's or your horse's head. You never want to stare them straight in the eye, because it feels quite intense, and it can be quite confrontational, especially in horse language, where staring them in the eye means go away, and you don't want them to go away. So I always say focus on a point just above their eyes, where you can see their whole body in your peripheral, because we always want to maintain safety for you and your animal when you're going into these kind of communications and later into healing. And then get excited about connecting. But as I said before, trust that you can do this, that you are already connecting with the animal, and that you are open as this beautiful receiver, and you're open as a clear channel and emitter to send information back to your animal. And always stay high. Animals love high frequencies. Love is a high frequency. So keep your energy high. And again, this just takes practice when you're working with animals that are ill or are ready to transition out of their bodies. It's not always easy to keep your energy high. And of course, they know exactly when we're pretending to be happy when we're not. So honestly and staying in your truth, and always sending from love with your thoughts is a good place to start this training of your clairaudience and clairvisual and clairsentient, all your clairs. And you're going to start to find in the beginning that you may find you're more clairaudient, which I hear a lot, but I also see a lot of pictures, and I see a lot of entities as my dominant clair. So you'll find out which one is your dominant one, and as you practice this, you're going to start to see that the other clairs will start to compound, and you'll start to get a very visceral whole body feeling when you communicate with animals. I don't particularly like to have soft music on when I'm speaking to them, but if that works for you, you could play some beautiful music. You could also do a short meditation or a prayer before you begin any communication with your animal. And just for me, the best place to be is grounded, so in the grass or sitting on the stable floor with the horse, or just in a place where you can be relaxed and undisturbed. And of course, you can always call in your animal guides and your team players, your spirit team, to support and guide you along with the ancestral wisdom of your ancestors, who knew how to do this and lived a lot more connected with nature as they were in their true nature, without all the distractions of the modern world. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to speak to. Hi, Sherry, and I see Fiona here. Nice to see you. So I know that I'm really going back to the basics of how to really begin talking to your animal communications. I've just had so many people over the last couple of weeks that are new to me and have been joining me on some of my Facebook Lives where I've been talking about sixth sense and how to trust your intuition and how to speak to your animals. But I just thought I'd hop in here today. It is Wellness Wednesday after all, and I really want you to explore this beautiful magic world of interspecies communication. Leaning up against a tree is always a great place to be able to speak to a tree, or sitting underneath a tree. Play with this. You can have conversations with rocks and trees and plants all the time. In fact, there's been many scientific studies showing that people that actually talk to their plants and send them love when they're watering them or cutting off their dead leaves, the plants flourish just like babies who are left in orphanages with no physical touch and have their bottles propped up on towels actually don't do very well. They get sick from the lack of connection. So just remember, your energy flows where energy goes, and you can send a grounding cord down through the earth to connect you to the earth, or just keep it simple and keep it light and have fun. Animals love it when we're fun and we're light and we're playful in our energy, which is often when you'll get very clear messages. Remember, when they start sending messages to us, they're so fast when they do that we have to be very intentional in being open to receiving, because the information will come so quickly. And of course, you can ask your animals. I still ask animals like this all the time. Oh, I appreciate you too, Sherry. But I always ask the animals before I'm about to speak to them, especially if they're new to me, that they've never spoken to me before, to just be patient and slow down what they're sending me. I joke at them. I say, you know, I'm not as good as this as you are, and I'm really wanting to learn how to do this. Could you please just slow everything down? Because I'm a bit of a silly human at times, and I spend a lot of time in my heads. And they always laugh, and are very willing to comply. So just have fun with it. It's such a beautiful place to be able to commune and talk to other non-human beings in this way. And of course, when you start to really build up your confidence of this, then you can go deeper into actually starting to gestalt. So ask them permission to merge with them, or do a body scan, which is really all medical intuitive is being able to see every organ, endocrine and body part, every blood vessel, every muscle, every tendon in the body, and notice where there are obstructions or heat or disease in the body, which of course takes a lot of guesswork and worry out of wondering what's wrong with your animal, and can be very helpful when you take your animal for veterinary care, to be able to say to them, this is what I sense, and it can cut down on a lot of costly, unnecessary, invasive procedures on your animal, and cut out a lot of trauma for them and for you as well. So just remember, you can do this, and it just takes practice, like everything else. Like when you were a baby, you didn't just come out of the womb and start walking upright. You went through learning to roll over and lift your head up, and then you started to shuffle, and then you started to crawl, and then you started to cruise the furniture, and then you stood up, and you probably fell down a million times before you were steady enough on your feet to be confident to walk. So just go slow and enjoy the process, and your animals will be so thrilled that you've taken the time to learn how to do this, and start sharing information with them, and also knowing what it is that they're asking for and what their needs are. And when you start to receive messages, you just have to be really ready, as I said, because it's instant. It's so quick. And even I miss it sometimes, because the information's coming in so quickly and so fast, that I actually ask them to push pause so that I can really see if the information that's coming in is true for me, and catch it in time. And if you can't, you can always ask them again, or pull the information in backward. So you just need to really pay attention to the information, and don't overanalyze it. Don't overthink it. If you like to write things down, write it down, or just make a mental note, or record yourself, and just know that they could send messages in different ways, and it could be very visual images, like flashes of vision of certain things that come across your eyes. It could be a smell. I remember when I was tracking a lost dog in Johannesburg that had been dog napped by some armed robbers. The first time I connected with him, and of course it was very urgent because time was of the essence in this case to get him back home, I just got hit with this overpowering smell of basil. And we did go on in the communication, but the first thing I said to his people is, have a look in your area or in the surrounding area. Is there a basil street, or a place that grows a lot of basil? So it is a bit like a needle in the haystack when you first start to receive it. You get really good at sleuthing. And if you're a pattern connector like I am, you probably love this. Hey, Daisy. Yes, that's my little three-legged dog here. And you might even see, if you're clairvisual, you might actually start to see their eyes, or an outline of their body, or it may morph into any number of things. So that's the clairvisual. Just be willing to receive whatever is the first thing that pops in your mind when you're receiving information from them. And as I said, be really aware, because they can often send you like a million things at once. And Daisy, What are you doing? That's what you call a pattern interrupt. What was I going to say about the visual thing? I don't know. Maybe it'll come back to me. But sound as well. You might hear a word or words. I find that animals, especially wild animals, they're very to the point. It's one word. It's not long, flowery sentences and a lot of waxing lyrical. It's just like to the point, and that's just how they are. Oh, that's what I wanted to say with the visual thing. Remember that if you're speaking to an animal, you know, a cat or maybe a guinea pig, their viewpoint on the world is very different. They're kind of looking up where we kind of see things on the eye level. It's going to look very different from their perspective. So also, I always tell my students in the beginning, get down to the level of your dog and actually, or your cat or your hamster if you can, and start to see how different the world looks from their point of view, because it's going to make it a lot easier for you to interpret the messages that they're sending you if you can see it from their viewpoint. I've spoken about smells and scents. Sometimes it's very subtle, and sometimes, like in the case of me tracking that missing dog, it was overpoweringly strong. Excuse me. And of course, then it's the clairsentience, so the felt sense, where you might just feel a wave of sadness or anxiety in like lots of feeling in the pit of your stomach if the dog is worried or feeling scared or anxious or sad or nervous. So you'll feel it in different parts of your body. And when you start to get more specific about the questions that you're asking them, like where does it hurt in your body, you might suddenly get a shooting pain in the bottom of your foot and find out that your horse is lame in that foot, or that there's some kind of sepsis or even a splinter in between their pads if it's a dog or a cat. So be aware of how it feels in your body when you start asking questions, and how you start to receive them as well. So remember, keep the questions really simple, and in fact, do some play work today. Start really slowly. Start off with your own animals and ask them, what's your favorite toy? Or who's your favorite person? And where do you sleep at night? And who's your best friend? But really simple questions, because they will love it that you're asking, and it also establishes trust. And then you can start asking them, do you have a message for me or for your person? And then you might want to swap. So find a buddy that you can buddy up with that also loves animals, and swap pictures. If you don't, preferably you don't want to know much about their animals. So this is where I started the Animal Talk Facebook group. Find a buddy in there and start swapping photographs, and maybe meet once a week. Technology is giving us such great opportunities to practice this from a distance too. So be willing to just see it as one big, beautiful experiment, and have fun. And if you like this, or you find the topic of animal communications or interspecies communications interesting, and you'd like to know more, please post this, comment, send me your questions, because I'd much rather answer your questions than just talk to you about what I am getting feedback from your emails and from my clients. So I'd love to hear your insight on that. And just remember again too, surround yourself with people. Like I said, this is why I created the Facebook group, because there are people who get you and get this work and are excited and are all going in their own spiritual evolution with you. Don't go into places where people are going to tell you that you're too woo and you're smoking mushrooms, or are cynics to the idea of communicating to other species. I think healthy skepticism is great, and that we should all question the world around us. But when you start to realize that there's so many wonders in the universe that we can't see, that are beyond our imagination and beyond what we've been taught and trained. Remember, programming, if you're in this group, you already know, like me, that you might have shut down your intuitive psychic capacities because you were made wrong for it, or people laughed at you. So just practice with your living animals at first, and then you can always move into swapping with other people's animals, and then you could always start to go into speaking with animals in spirit, because it's exactly the same way. So keep track of your accomplishments, share it in the Facebook page. I'd love to hear your success stories and your excitement and enthusiasm at the information that you're getting. And just remember, intention is a really, really powerful tool. And if you intend to talk to the animals, you will. If you intend to try, you probably won't. So remember, it takes commitment, it takes patience, and it takes just an open, loving heart. And I hope that you got some value out of today. And bring me your questions. Please like this, share this. If you have anybody else in your area that you think might be open to playing with you, invite them into the Facebook group. I'd love to have you there. And keep the questions coming and keep practicing, and I send you lots of love. Bye.